All right, students, welcome. In IT auditing, it's really easy to get lost in the weeds, right? You get stuck in complex systems, detailed procedures. But what if I told you that the single most important control has absolutely nothing to do with software? Today, we're talking about the tone at the top. And believe me, it's the foundation that everything else is built on. You know, when you strip everything else away, it all comes down to this one simple question. Are the people running the show actually honest? We're talking about management, the board, the people in charge. This is the heart of what we mean by the tone at the top. And for you, as an auditor, this is not just some philosophical question. It's the critical lens you have to use to evaluate every single control you come across. So here's our game plan. We're going to tackle this in 5 parts. We'll start with the big picture idea of setting the tone, then we'll dive into the control environment and risk. After that, we'll look at what this actually looks like in the real world, and most importantly, why it is so critical for your job. Okay, let's jump right in. Section 1, setting the tone. Now, this tone isn't just some vibe or feeling. It's actually established through something very specific, something we call entity-level controls. Think of it like this. These controls aren't just a specific rule for, say, the accounting department. No, they're more like the constitution for the entire company. They're pervasive. They influence the culture, the values, and they touch every single employee and process. They are the bedrock that all other, more specific controls have to be built on. So, these high-level controls, they don't exist in a vacuum. They create something absolutely essential, the control environment. You can think of this as the overall atmosphere of the company when it comes to doing the right thing. And let's be clear, this isn't just a vague feeling. It's the tangible result of a company's governance, its management, and the attitudes and actions of its leaders. It's about how seriously they take internal controls and, just as important, how they communicate that seriousness down through the entire organization. Okay, so this is where the rubber really meets the road for you as an auditor. This environment is built on 5 key pillars. Is there a real lived commitment to ethics? Is the board truly independent, or are they just a rubber stamp for the CEO? Does everyone know who's responsible for what? Does the company actually invest in good, competent people? And maybe the biggest one, when things go wrong, are people held accountable? This quote, this just says it all, doesn't it? Controls are only as good as the people behind them. It brings us right back to that first question we asked about honesty. Because if the leadership doesn't have integrity, then even the most perfectly designed system is, well, it's just built on sand. Now, once that strong foundation is in place, the company can start building on top of it. And that means creating proactive processes to assess their own risks and to monitor their own controls. Okay, listen up, because this is a distinction that trips up a lot of new auditors. When we talk about risk assessment right here, we are not talking about your job. We're talking about the client's internal process for figuring out where things might go wrong, hopefully before you even walk in the door. The key question is this company actively looking for its own weak spots? And assessing risk isn't just a one-time thing. It has to be supported by ongoing monitoring. This is the company's way of making sure its controls are still working over time. You know, think about it. A manager who reviews bank reconciliations every month isn't just performing a task. They're also monitoring to make sure that whole control process hasn't broken down. All right, enough with the theory. Let's talk about what this actually looks like when you're in the field. What's the real tangible evidence you're going to be looking for to prove that there's a healthy tone at the top? This table right here, this is your treasure map. Your job isn't just to collect documents. You're a detective hunting for evidence. You're going to ask for the code of conduct to see their stated principles. You'll look for whistleblower policy to see if people actually feel safe speaking up. You'll check for conflict of interest statements to test for transparency. And you'll read the board minutes to see if the board is actually governing. Every one of these documents tells a part of the story. So we've covered the theory and we've covered the evidence. Now, for the most important part, let's connect the dots. Why does obsessing over this tone stuff matter so much to your work? Seriously, why do we spend so much time on these high-level, these soft controls, when you could be diving right into testing an IT system or a specific transaction process? And here's the answer. This is the big one. Because if the people in charge don't care about integrity, They can and they will override any control you test. That super sophisticated access control system you spent a week testing, it's useless if the CFO can just tell someone to bypass it. That perfect segregation of duties, it's totally meaningless in a culture where the motto is just get it done. A poor tone at the top is the single biggest risk factor you will ever face. And that's the ultimate question I want to leave you with. As you start every audit, I want you to think about this. Because if the tone at the top is wrong, if the answer to this question is no, then your entire audit strategy has to change. Understanding this concept isn't just another box to check. It's the very first step.